It is Monday, July 3, 2023. Welcome to Cancer Update 21. And the topic of today's Cancer Update is tolerance. And the reason I want to talk to you about that today is I had an interesting conversation with someone about an hour ago. That person's name is Germaine. So hello, Germaine, if you're watching. This story was inspired by the conversation that I had with you. And I think as time goes by, you're going to find that you're hopefully quite proud of the input that you had there. What transpired in that conversation with Germaine is he felt that he needed to point out to me that he was a Black African American that is also a Christian. And this, to me, struck me as slightly odd because I've made it quite clear that I'm religiously tolerant, and as long as you're also religiously tolerant, that's fine. And although we haven't talked about race and skin colour, I would hope that it's fairly obvious that I don't mind. You know, I've talked about Aboriginal, Indigenous Australian culture and the Noongars and the Wadjuk. So I think through those things, it's probably evident that I'm very tolerant of people that have different skin colours and racial backgrounds. And yet Germaine felt that he needed to tell me those things. And I took them in the sweet way in which they were intended. So thank you, Germaine, for pointing those things out. You really didn't have to. And what I pointed out to Germaine was that as a content creator on YouTube and answering people that comment, I almost always don't know what your race is. I don't know what colour your skin is. I can sometimes work it out from looking on your profile pic, but let's be clear, I don't put any effort into working out, you know, into having a really good look at your profile pic before I answer, because I don't care what colour your skin is. So I usually don't know, and I don't put any effort into finding out because it just doesn't matter to me. And it occurred to me that this is a lovely example of where a very famous person that had a speech known as "I Have a Dream" asked or imagined a world that was different to his world on August 28, 1963. And he pondered a world that was better than the world he was living in there. And it occurred to me that that conversation I had with Germaine shows that now, as we stand here in 2023, the dream that Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. had on August 28, 1963 is at least in part coming true. And I want to read out part of that speech to you. And this is from about 2/3 the way through that speech. He said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they are not judged by the colour of their skin, but by the content of their character." And obviously the entire speech is wonderful, and there are other pieces of the speech that speak to different situations, but that part of the speech speaks to that conversation that I had with Germaine earlier today, because I was in no way judging him by the colour of his skin. I was judging him by the content of his character. And that just goes to show that the dreams of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. in 1963 are in some ways being realised in 2023. I hope they continue to be realised. And that makes me really happy. And I hope that it makes you happy. I can't, and I do not claim to have a stronger connection to that speech than people of colour, and certainly to Black African American people of colour. That speech was uniquely made to address your people, and it speaks about a lot of the trouble that was happening at the time in Alabama and Georgia and Louisiana, I think is also mentioned in that speech. So I do not mean to appropriate that from people of colour, but I do mean to point out that isn't it wonderful, because parts of that speech are happening, and which means, of course, he made a difference. He made a huge difference. He's continuing to make a difference. It is a positive difference. This goes back to, I forget which episodes it is. It's several episodes where I talk about when I pass away, my desire is that I have an eternal influence, and that eternal influence is a good one. And I think we can all agree that Martin Luther King Jr.'s influence is enduring and is very, very positive. So that's how I feel about that, Jermaine. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it causes you as much thought as it causes me. It brought me a lot of cause for thought, and they were all very good thoughts. So I was really pleased for that. Now, you're probably wondering about these two photos behind me or beside me, depending on how tall I stand. I was getting sick of looking at the same background to the videos that I was taking in my dining room area. And I've decided that what I'm going to do is whenever I film in my dining room area, I'll put up some different pictures. And these are a couple of pictures from my modelling days. So this is me, obviously, as the devil, but I want to give you a bit of it's the funny little backstories that you find out when the behind the scenes stories. That I'm covered in is Vegemite. So the makeup artist, before we shot, got out a big jar of Vegemite and slathered me with Vegemite. The horns were made of a wax material. Paula, I don't know if you're watching. I might actually make sure I tag you. These horns, I'll call out her full name actually because she deserves it. Her name is Paula Hart. Back then she was a fabric artist. Have I got that right, Paula? You were a fabric artist and designing amazing clothes. Nowadays, Paula is involved in industrial art. So Paula does things like if there's a oh, do you know what? I'll film it for one of the future updates. So hold me to this. There's a supermarket not far from here that on the first floor has got some of Paula's work, which is stainless steel cabling that has been bent and twisted into artistic shapes. And I think the one down the road, it's twisted into the shapes of native plants, West Australian native plants. And that is that piece of work is designed by Paula. So that's the type of thing she does now. Back when I knew her in the 90s, Paula was doing fabric design. And on this particular day, she made me a pair of wax devil's horns. And that was a good shoot. I enjoyed that. The instruction from the photographer was, please don't give me anything that's parallel. So you might notice in that shot, every part of my body, I'm trying to not have parallel or at 90 degrees to any other part. That was the instruction from the photographer. This one here this one is from 1996, from a different shoot. This is a photographic shoot that I did for my portfolio, and I had on a black leather vest. And I remember this one because I got my chest waxed for it. And I don't know if you've seen 40-Year-Old Virgin before, but in that, what's his name? I've forgotten. The main comedian in 40-Year-Old Virgin. He gets his chest waxed. He's got a very hairy chest, and he gets it waxed, and it's absolutely hilarious. I went through not as severe as 40-Year-Old Virgin, but I had my chest waxed for that photo shoot, and I remember it being very, very painful. However, I also remember afterwards thinking that it felt really nice. So that's my memory of that shoot. I'll try and I'll pop them up at the end of this shoot so you can see them in a clearer, higher resolution. So that's just two photos from when I modelled. I was a model from 1996. Look, officially I was probably a model from 1996 only up until about maybe 1998 in terms of photographic work and catwalk modelling and print media and what have you. However, for those of you that have ever done it, once you're okay being in front of a camera, you continue to be okay with being in front of a camera. So even though I may have finished sort of officially in around 1998, I dare say there are some instances of me from 1999 and 2000 and beyond where if someone wanted me to model as an extra for something, then I did do it. Actually, now I think about it, oh wow, that's an interesting connection. I did do one TV commercial for the Cancer Council of WA. It hadn't occurred to me until that moment. I did an ad for the Cancer Council of WA, and I think that was in about 2005, maybe 2006. So yeah, there's that. So look, enjoy these two photos. I will change them whenever I use this dining room area to send you an update, purely because I want it to be interesting for you, and it also gives me something to talk about. And several of you have indicated that you want to know more about me as a person. So if I keep putting up photographs, it'll force me to keep telling you stories about things that happened in my past. So that was me on one day as a devil, and that was me on another day as a mysteriously clean, waxed chested, somewhat kind of bikey character. I don't know. So enjoy. I'll talk to you next time. Thank you.